It is snowy. And I brought my good camera for outside filming. However, I did not put in an SD card. I took it out yesterday because I want to finally move all of my hiking stuff that I did in October over to edit. Yeah, so this is the hills that I usually walk in. I don't know, like if I look over there, it's pretty dirty. I'm not sure if it's frozen enough to be okay to walk in. So we might just stay on the pavement and take the tiny mini loop up here. But this is where Max can be off leash. And even an old loop. Here I am. Even an old loop is novel and fresh when there's snow on the ground. I am attempting to film 2 videos, not today, but over the course of the next weekend. One is my end of the year numbers for my pens. They did not make sense yesterday, and I was like, what the hell? It should be the right number, but it wasn't. And then I found it. It was me all along, but they make sense now. And I want to go through the Diamine Inkvent and all the ink calendar stuff that I received in December, or yeah, and put them in piles of giveaway, use in pilot parallels, and then ink in a fountain pen. Keep. That's one video. And then I'm thinking of starting a new monthly video where I lump together my knitting, my reading, mail I'm planning to send, mail I received. I had another one, yes, food I want to make, and hikes I want to go on. And then come back at the next month and share what I actually kind of accomplished and share what my plans are for the next month. I'm not sure if this is just overly ambitious because we're in between the years and everything is lazy and I feel like I have a lot of time, so this might die before it even started. But yeah, I would love to do that and see what comes out of it. So that's another one. And I want to start in January, obviously. And so I thought that would be a cool trial video for, let's just do a review of December things. I hope that will help me keep track of or be better in my reading journal, because I have a gap of about 15 books that I still need to jot down all of the info. And I hate it. It's a lot in one go, but if I do it monthly, it should be okay. Yeah, and I love cooking. We made amazing Christmas dinner yesterday. And so I feel like if I plan out more of those besides stationary hobby things that I would like to do, then maybe I'll make time for them during the month. And I know I shouldn't be that way, but when I'm talking about it on YouTube, it feels validated and I'm allowed to do it. Yeah, that's something that I need to talk through with a therapist. But if it works for now, and if it's not stressing me out, I should try it, right? So let's go and do the numbers thing, now that I finally cracked the code. Seems like we're in the middle of a snow cloud, because as you can clearly see, you can see nothing. there's usually mountains back there and stuff. Mountains and stuff. And also sky. Sky does not exist right now. So we're at the desk. Let's get into the numbers first. Throughout 2025, I did track what came in, what went out. I tried to keep track of what went out and in and keep a tally and total of what has changed. I logged the state of my collection in the beginning of the year. I started with 70 pens in 6 different categories and 59 bottles of inks. I decided to not keep track of samples. It says down here, they come and go, and I'm not letting the number influence my feelings. No more guilt or anxiety, and that has worked really well for me. I have a box that is keeping the daylight out in my closet, and when I feel like I want to use samples, then I go there and pull from that box. And not knowing the amount of ink samples I own has been really freeing for me. So I'm not going to change anything about that in 2026. I printed all of the pens in the beginning of the year and then towards the middle of the year as well. Somewhere here, maybe in the end of June, right here. I also printed those again. However, I only printed the rotation pens because that is the most interesting pens in my collection. Everything else, and I've categorized them here. This is my pen classification. I have retired pens, just here pens, and those are pens that I don't usually use. I keep them for art projects, size comparisons, consider for giveaways. I keep them because they come in handy, because they might be functional pens at some point. Their price when I purchased them was not as high that I need to recover the money just because I don't use them. So these are not part of my current rotation pens. And the reason why I categorize them is because I'm a very anxious person. Maybe you noticed that. I don't want that to be true, but I have to admit that that's just the case. And having those pens in my pen case with the pens that I rotate through for journaling, letter writing, one like this, when I have them in my pen case, then I start to feel anxious because I'm not using them. But there is no reason for me to use them. I don't want to use them for that purpose, but I still have them in my collection. Then I have fun pens. These are pens like this one here. This is a One-Side Mini with a Pilot Parallel inside. Again, they're not part of my letter writing rotation. I might use them in a letter occasionally, or maybe as a title in my journal, but they're not part of that rotation. And then functional pens are pens that I use for permanent inks with a specific journal. And the only functional pen that I'm using right now is this Platinum Preppy that is inked with De Atramentis Document Black. So there's more in that category, but not a lot. And then I have rotation pens, and then pens that I haven't listed for sale yet. Usually they're very rare. There's pens in that category. But I want to compare, and I'm going to write it out in contrast. I want to compare this state of my collection from January 2025 to the state of my collection at the end of 2025. Today is December 26th, and I'm not planning on purchasing any more pens this year. My ink journal is actually completely filled, so I added this tiny Hobonichi notebook, and I'm almost done with that one too. There is like 3 pages left. I started put in a grid for some kind of planner layout that I was considering, but I'm just going to stick down. When I was preparing for my purchases for 2025 and the pens I sold, I made lists that I put into my YouTube notebook, or at that point it was still my YouTube notebook. And so what I'm going to do is glue those in here once I'm done with that state of my collection. And then I think my notebook is completely filled. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. I will share a flip through probably at the beginning of February, because I have so many videos already planned for January to wrap up 2025. Not sure if I'll get there. So let's just use some of these awesome things right here. So state of the collection. I am using my new microphone that has been sitting here for months. It was so easy to set up, but I never tried to. I hate that when that happens, when I'm proving my age because I'm too afraid to use new technology. Yeah. So I think I'm going to divide it down in the middle. Well, no. So I'm going through, I already laid it out right here. Let me choose a pen that I want to use. And I think I'm actually going to use my Lamy 2000. Why is this? There we go. So this is the beginning of the year, so January and December. And then we have the first category. I'm just going to copy it this way. I don't know if that is how it was organized in my pen collection. Categories, doesn't really matter. Retired. So I started with 2 retired pens. That is a Lamy Safari in yellow that I have used in high school. And then it is a Pelicano Junior that my son used in elementary school. Both of those are done. The Pelicano Junior has a crack in the cap, and so I decided not to use it anymore. I did not retire any pens in 2025, so that number stays the same. Then I have just here pens, and I started out with 10, and I increased that number by 4 to 14. I did recategorize some pens, and I might be, sounds weird, I don't remember which one is which, in the sense that for instance, I added, and I don't know if that is actually correct because I just sold a pen. Yeah, okay, that was already in the for sale category. So just here is 14. Not sure what those changes were. I did not dig as deep as I would like to right now, but that is just, I'm just gonna do the numbers, and let me research because I am curious now. Yay. So I moved a Jinhao 1919 in red to the Just Here category from the fun pens because I removed the Pilot Parallel nib that was in there and used it for on another pen body. Then I purchased a 3-pack of Platinum Preppy Pepper nibs, those white ones that I showed you earlier. One is in the functional category, the other ones aren't used and are in the Just Here. And then I also categorized my small Mayfair pens Naria with the silver sparkle. That is a pen that I'm not sure if I would want to sell it yet. So it's in the Just Here because it's not moved into the for sale category yet. It's a little stained. I don't personally think it's very practical, and so I'm not really sure if I even want to sell it. So there's that. So that is 4 pens, and that makes these 4. Then in the fun category, and I won't be able to tell you exactly what increased the number. I can tell you a small amount. I started out with 14 in that category, and now I'm at 19. I definitely know that I moved 2 pens over. This one is a very recent acquisition. I filled it. The reason why I moved it over here is not because I don't want to use the pen, but because it is filled with Diamine Overcast, which was a Diamine Inkvent ink, and I would like to use this in my play. This has the 1.1 stub nib, and so I'm just trying to use the fill without having to use it in my journals. And then I also, not this one, I also moved this Admog M600 over. This one is also filled with a very green, very sparkly ink that I used for a month in my journals. And then I decided I don't want to really get rid of the ink. And I also don't really want to write with it in my journals. Let me play with it a little more. And also that pen is probably going to stay in that fun category. I might also have purchased some Pilot Parallel pens throughout the year, so that is how that category increased. So I now have 19 fun pens, and there will be a great Pilot Parallel inking of 2026. Just need to prepare and clean them all out, like this one, for instance, so that I'm ready to ink them all up. But I really want to do that with you guys. Then functional, I started out with 4 and I ended with 3. I moved 1 pen into the for sale category from this section, and it's actually sold. So yeah, the pen that I moved over from that category is the TWSBI AL Mini AL Silver with the reverse architect nib from Kirkspear. That nib for some reason does not work for me anymore, and so I decided to let it go. Then rotation pens. I started out with 39 pens and I'm ending the year with 39 pens. Now, just to be clear, we're not ending with the same amount of pens in general, because these increased, this one only decreased by 1. And then for sale in the beginning of the year, I had 1 pen in that category, and I am still having 1 pen in that category. And the pen that is for sale, so if you're interested and it's still for sale once I am publishing this video. Did I take it out? Oops, nope, it's right here. Is this one. I only dip tested it. I decided that my future is not with TWSBI Ecos. I was confused. I purchased this only for the Diamine Forever inks, I thought I wanted to use them. I used them and swatched them in the Inkvent calendar, and you will see in the second half of this video that these inks are not my future, and so this pen is also not my future. It's a Eco Tea in Eggplant. I really love the color, and then it has an extra fine nib that works really well. I dip tested it, but I have actually not used it since I tried it out. So that gives a total number of pens of 70 in the beginning of the year, as I said earlier, and we are at 78 pens at the end of the year. And so I thought I was going to just give a quick rundown, because this doesn't say anything about the amount of pens that ever came into my collection and the amount of pens that left. I have a video about rating all the pen purchases that I made. That is a Snippets from my desk video. And then there will be a video in the new year about all of the pens that I sold in 2025. That is coming out, so that is going to run through all of those. I will link those videos in the description down below and maybe in the cards up here. So the pens in. I was gifted, or let me clarify, just to be clear, some of them I was gifted by friends. Some of them were given to me in exchange for a video, which means they were not free. 11 pens. I purchased 20, why is this number now really 25? Then pens out, I gifted 3 to a friend. I sold 18. And then, because that didn't actually change the number, I swapped 2. Pens. So I sent a friend one and the friend sent me a different one in exchange. And then I also influenced the amount of pens I own, because this number doesn't add up to this at all. I started Frankensteining my pens. Or nibs harvested. So made 2 pens became 1. 7. So I did this math so many times yesterday, and then I went and looked through all of them, and then I realized that I did not purchase 26 pens as I had originally assumed, and I sold 18 instead of 15. And then I also have to subtract this number. So if I start at 70 and add 11 and 25, that brings me to 106. Then I take away 3 is 103 minus 18 gets me to 103 minus 20 is 83. Blah. What? How does it work? Math. 103 minus 10 is 93 minus 8 is 85, right? Minus 7 gets us to 78. I also did just one more distinction here. So 2 of those nibs I harvested, 2 pens that became dead pen bodies and harvested nibs were already in my collection before 2025. So I did not purchase those specifically to Frankenstein them. And then 5 pens were purchased in 2025. And if I want to split this up even more, 1 pen was such a disaster that I harvested the nib and just consolidated my losses. Consolidation. And 4 were specifically purchased for the purpose of Frankensteining. So those numbers were important at some point. To me, if you might remember my very first, how this all started, this realization that I had that I was super anxious about numbers of pens and all that, and that it deterred me from enjoying my hobby, was when I did the 8 pen questions, the original video with Leanne from Leanne Likes. And then I also had a penterview with my friend Karina from Karina Loves to Plan. And we realized in those conversations with Leanne and with Karina, or I did, that I was so afraid of crossing a certain number of pens. And that definitely is still reflected in this pen categorization, which just shows you how weird I need to make this work for me. And I'm aware of that. So if you don't need that, that's totally fine. It works for me and it brings me joy. It lets me enjoy my collection in the way that I would like to enjoy it. But also it isn't sitting in the back of my neck, making me feel guilty about something I shouldn't feel guilty about, or anxious that I'm not using certain pens, blah. I talked about this before. I feel good about this number. I like keeping tally of this, but it's not something that I need to feel safe, to feel not guilty. As you can see, I'm still purchasing quite a lot of pens. Maybe that is slowing down in 2026. I don't really know. But I also, at the same time, there's pens that I realize are not working for me that I'm letting go. And so I'm cool with the way that this is working. Now, obviously, if we're talking money, then clearly, if I'm purchasing pens that I'm then reselling, I'm never going to make a win. I'm always losing money. So if that is the biggest concern, to get the most out of my money, I don't think this approach is the right one. Because yes, obviously I was able to test and use those pens and have them in my collection for a while, but clearly I'm making a loss if I'm just looking at what I'm paying and what I'm getting. However, if I'm looking at the number and how I'm comfortable with this and how I feel about the overall state of my collection, I can tell you that I am happy with how this year turned out. I wouldn't be able to do this without you at all. I rely on the YouTube payouts every month in order to be able to fund pens. I relied on the Atlas Stationers affiliate credit that is ending at the end of 2025, and they are rolling out a new system in the first quarter of 2026, but I don't know what that will look like, if I'm even eligible to participate. I'm also not sure if I want to participate, so we will see how that is going to develop. But those things, you watching my videos, you putting up racking up ad revenue for me, is enabling me to purchase these things, as well as you purchasing from Vanessa. That is also definitely helping. Lisa Vanessa is absolutely generous and does support purchasing from her shop for me as an influencer, content creator. So she's like subsidizing some of my purchases, which helps as well. So if you are purchasing from some places, then helps me if you use my code or if you support them specifically. Now I'm seeing a dog, but I don't see an owner in the golf course. And I'm like, is this a puppy or is this just... Yeah, this walks like a dog, not like a not like a coyote or something, because we have those here too. Alrighty, let's swap to the next topic that I want to talk about and cover in this video, and then I'm hoping to get them all published at the right time. Let's talk about all of the inks that came in that I swatched in December. This is the Diamine Inkvent 2025. This is the inks that I received in the ink mass swap from Lark at Quirky Girly Plans. The ink mass swap was hosted by Kristen Creates, as well as I Make Plans, Kristen and Charisse. And then my friend Amy surprised me with an advent calendar where some of the items were samples. And so I would like to categorize these inks into the different things. So now the only thing that I'm looking for is that big list of inks. I swatched all of them. I played with all of them. Oh, let me do the overall impression. So if you've watched my spoiler video for the Diamine Inkvent, then you know that I was quite disappointed with the calendar in itself. It wasn't the right thing for me. And after thinking about it for a little bit, I don't think an advent calendar that is not curated by a friend who knows me will never be successful for me anymore. I don't trust Diamine or other people to know what I like, and then I'm always anxious. There's the anxiety again about what if I open this and I'm super disappointed. Maybe it's a self-fulfilling prophecy because I'm putting so much weight to this needs to work for me, that even if it's an ink that works for me maybe 70%, it doesn't work 100%, and so it's not good for me. So surprises don't often work for me. Not when people gift me gifts or bring me places. Like, I have to just admit, I like the idea of surprises, but they don't work for me. So an advent calendar, again, with the caveat, unless it is curated by a friend who knows me well, will not work for me. So I was super disappointed, and I was like, what am I like? I didn't plan on using these or inking pens with these. What can I do with these inks in order to get the most out of this calendar? And so I had this idea that if I just played with these a little bit, and I don't even know if I saw it somewhere or if just, I know that Aziza from Gourmet Pens does things like this, but it's not the same to play with inks. Maybe that was just inspired me, and then I started playing a little. I know that some of these elements, as I said earlier, not in this video, in other videos, were inspired by Ella Nim, Chris from Ella Nim, Maike from Maike Oatley, Cat Collage Club, like some of the florals here. And so all of those inspirations combined led me to this. And that was something that I thought I could do. It was a manageable amount of time spent with the ink without over expecting stuff that I couldn't do, like inking a pen every single day and maybe even writing with it. That I knew I didn't want to do that. And so this experiencing these inks in a different way was good. It definitely healed me a little bit and like, you know, like a band-aid on the wound that I inflicted on myself. It helped reconcile with this calendar. But overall, if I'm just looking, like, what do I want to get out of this calendar is another thing that I should have asked myself before, because I never thought of playing with these inks in the way that I did end up doing. But if I'm looking at this and just thinking about, I want to write with these inks, then it was a total fail. There's not a lot of inks that I want to use in pens for general writing purposes. I don't like sheening inks. I realized once I swatched these pigment inks, which was the biggest driver for me to purchase the calendar, that I don't want to use the Diamine Forever inks. So, yes, I'm at rock bottom and I need to get myself out of that. Now, what I learned when I swatched those inks in the way that I did is that I really enjoyed, let's just flip through, I really enjoyed the sheening inks because there was a lot of contrast between the high application and the low application. There is some pooling here, there is some interest that I was able to achieve with this page. It brought me joy. This one is a sheening ink. I don't like that, but look at how this looks. Perfect. I loved using this. So this one is not one that I would use in a fountain pen. So let's just pull it all out and talk about it. Let's grab those and make piles. Celestial Skies. This is so close to Urban Emeraude de Chivor, that it didn't feel very innovative. Also, I talked about this in the other videos when I talked about the Inkvent. I think the way that these inks, for me, maybe it's different with other people. Maybe all of the beginning inks and the end inks were banger inks. But for me, in general, these were not banger inks. These were all complicated feeling inks. And so they're like, I'm starting to go down the ladder, you know, one step at a time to where I'm at rock bottom, and then comes a good ink that then is just like maybe 2 steps up, and I'm still in the basement with my feelings about this calendar. And the same way they end it, the last day is almost the same as the first day, just a little bit more vibrant in the sheen and a different shimmer. But look at how close they are in the watered down version of this. So I think I'm gonna pass this along. Second one is Energy. No, come here. This is a sheening ink. I am going to keep this. I want to play around with diluting these in pens, maybe in my parallels. I'm not sure about that yet, but this is something that I'm keeping. And that is very interesting because this is going to happen for many of these. This is the one of the pigment inks. I'm going to give that away to a friend that might love these. or at least that's what I'm assuming, hoping for. Oh no, there is some there's some leakage in that tin. I hope it's the one that I'm thinking of. So pigment goes to my friend. Oh no, maybe it's this one. Ta-da! So I'm going to just put something underneath here and clean this up as soon as I'm done with this video. Pigment inks are not it for me. They feel very flowy, and not the thing. Then smoky tobacco, I would like to try. Where is that? No, look at this. Not good. Okay. Smoky tobacco, I would like to try on a pen. So this is giveaway. Sheening inks, play with this. This is pen stuff. You don't see those piles, but I just want to make it clear for myself. Mary Rose is one that I think I want to try in a pen at some point next year. So all of these are good. And then we'll talk about the rest when it comes here. Mary Rose, where are you? Right here in a pen. Might be disappointing, but what I liked and what I also noticed quite a few times is this one split up into different colors. That was cute. This could be a pen, or I think maybe it's a play ink. Let's put it where it's supposed to go. Oh yeah. Fuyugaki is the one that I didn't close well, and it completely emptied on me. WTF. Fur and Fog is a definite keeper. I really like this ink. Holy Night is not part of that. I played with it. It's at Tono and Limbs. And I decided, you know what? I'm not going to listen to my own rules. I'm going to put this into a pen. Why not use Holy Night during Christmas time? This we'll talk about later. These are the Advent calendar swatches from my friend Amy. Then Diamine Inkvent Blush is... So here's a little bit of a splittage. I think I had some color left over from a different ink on my dip nib at this point. This is just not for me. Maybe I need to clean my hands first. It only seems to be getting worse from here on out. I have some wet wipes here, so I can wipe stuff, but I also don't want to touch. Extreme Sheen Dreamcatcher. I want to keep this. I really want to play with diluting this. I said it earlier. So this is here. This is staying for playing. I do not enjoy extreme sheening or extreme sheening inks in my fountain pens. There's one that was super disappointing. Bittersweet is not necessarily one that I would want to use. But also I really liked those blue little tinges that come out here, and maybe I want to try it in a pen. Just really like kind of quickly without committing to it for a month, but it could be nice. So I'm gonna keep that one. I did not like this the first time I swatched it. I liked it in this swatch here. Nostalgia was a super winner for me. Oh my God, friends. What a mess. Oh no, I shouldn't do that. This was a winner. I will keep this. I have this in a pen. It's lovely. These are all writing samples of inks in pens. Burr, I tried in a pen, did not like it. It's a pigment ink. Let's just pass it along to the friend who might like it. Bubbly is not an ink that I want to use in a pen, but I would love to see it in a Pilot Parallel. Molten Basalt was the disappointment of the Inkvent calendar. I really liked it in the first swatch in this big overview right here. I loved how it looked. I could imagine myself using this in a pen, but unfortunately, you see the sheen up here. It is only sheen. When writing with it, that's not what I personally like, and I don't think it will be a good fit in a Pilot Parallel either. So this is going. This is the inks that I received from my friend Lark. Then Mittens is another pigment, needs to go or will go. And then we moved to the other book. We're going to grab that book again in a second. Then we have Frostbite. This one I actually liked. I'm not sure if I only liked the watered down version of this or if I would like it in writing, but I want to try it once. I have Ruby Taffeta. This is, I think, wrong. Yeah, 2 Fs, 1 T. In a pen, it's very bright. I thought I would want it, but I don't think I'll keep it because of the sheen here and because when I did my inventory, we did not do an inventory on my pen inks. We will talk about that in a few seconds. Minutes, hours from now. I don't think. I have darker inks that will scratch that. Maybe this is what I like. Will scratch that itch more than this one. Gala. I wanted to like it. It is, something is off. This is just not the ink color for me. And I also don't think it's the ink color for me in a Pilot Parallel. So this one is going. Laurel, look at this. It reminds me of Tourmaline from Lamy. Let me see if I can find that really quickly. There. I think that's kind of a match, and so maybe I'll just pass it along to someone who would like it more. It's not for me. That is just not the right thing, but I'm inspired to put tourmaline in a pen now. Overcast is definitely staying for playing purposes. I tried it in a pen and it's not very successful. Ambience is also going to stay. I really like those pink hues that come out here, and I want to see what it does when it's in a Pilot Parallel. Chaos is also going to stay. This is what I wish Ruby Taffeta would do. So I really like this. I want to water it down. Here is Ruby Taffeta in a pen. This is not one. Where were all the writing samples? This is Molten Basalt. It just looks like black. Not really interesting. This is Diamine Overcast. Nah. This is my currently inked. Pineapple Spritz, Pigment Chameleon. It might be gold and green, maybe, possibly. Also, not keeping it. Let It Snow is, it's not the same, but it reminds me of Diamine Sub-Zero. I have quite a few Blizzard from the 2023 Inkvent. I'm going to keep this. I might put it in a Pilot Parallel Antler. I did not like this the first time I swatched it. I can see where people come from when they say, oh my God, this is such a great ink. Definitely. Yeah, pigment, not for me. And then More the Merrier. Man, that was such a disappointing ink when I swatched it the first time, the first go.
I think it looks better on this original Tomoe River paper. I like how it splits apart. I think it looks similar to Kujaku from Palette Iroshizuku, and that is an ink that I really love, but I will keep this for a little bit to play around with it just because I want to do that. Might still end up in the let this go away pile. So out of the 25 inks, I have I have two that I really love. I have three that I want to try in pens that I'm not sure about. That's not a lot. But these will go into my pen and ink box. Then this will all go into my play stuff. We can say that I definitely liked this one as well. In its original form, I just don't think I want to put it in a pen. So there is six, 7, 8, 9 inks that I'm going to keep to play around. Of those, there is 4 that need to be diluted. These are all very light, so that tells you something about my pen and ink, my ink preferences. So these are play inks. I will pass along these 6 plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pigment inks. So 11 I will pass along. And that's almost 50% of the calendar. 25, yeah, a little less than 50, but that's too much. And this is the reason why I will not be doing the Inkvent calendar again. Now, does that mean that you shouldn't do the Inkvent calendar again? No, absolutely not. You should totally do whatever works best for you. And I know that there's people who say, I love just opening this for the surprise. That is not me. And I have finally, are we happy about that now? Yes. Come to the conclusion that unless it's chocolate or tea, I do not like the surprise aspect of that. And I get anxious when there is that type of surprise. So let's talk about while I was doing this, and because my friend Amy sent me that advent calendar, that just made me realize that how I felt, why I felt so strongly about this. So my friend Amy sent me, I'm so annoyed, sent me a total of 6, 7, 8, 9 ink samples for December to open. And out of all of them, I mean, she knows my preferences, and she also knows that I am using lighter inks to play with them in pilot parallels. So that works. Out of these, I was tempted to ink almost all of them in a pen or in a pilot parallel. Which is awesome. I inked this one into my FA nib. I inked this one into my, what is that called? Into my Lamy 2000. And they're both working really well. So yeah, I actually even purchased another sample of the strawberry chocolate so that I could do an ink play with it, because there's not enough ink left in this after I inked the pen. I would rather want to ink the pen than do an ink play first. That's how much I like this, and that's how much I wanted to see this in a pen. people, this is so bad. The strawberry chocolate works well in the FA nib. This is definitely more of a play ink for me than a writing ink. I would like to see the Tono and Lim's Sakura Moonlight, which is this one, in a pen. I would like to purchase a bottle of Japanese tea ceremony because I really love the green. Van Diemen's Natura Dualis Riverbank is definitely too light for me. Will go in a Pilot Parallel at some point. The Kobe Ink Milk Chocolate, I did not like it as much. I like the strawberry chocolate. I don't think I want to put this in a pen, especially if it's this light. Tone and Lim's Kai Waikiki. I mean, I love these types of inks, so I would like to see this in a pen. Then we have Sailor Manyo Takenoko. It's a golden ink, maybe in a Pilot Parallel, probably not in a pen. Unless I see it inked with a broad nib somewhere. That could be a thing. Then we have Tono and Lim's Sakura Twilight. Maybe these are related. This one is a little darker. And I'm not sure if I wanted to ink this. This one really looks awesome. This one is not. And I noticed that Tono and Lim's has a lot of these types of colors. This Holy Night is not the same, but it's very similar as well. These are just smidges apart. And then the last one of this set is the Van Diemen's Natura Dualis Last Night. Oh my God, I want to see this in a Pilot Parallel. But all of these have some interest to them that I did not see in the Diamine Inkvent. So let's go to the Inkmass inks, and I'm not going to pull them out because, So out of this whole set of 13 inks that was sent to me by Lark, the only ink that I have used so far and that I completely spilled into my receptacle is Pilot Iroshizuku Fuyugaki. All of the other inks I have not used yet. And they're really interesting inks. I like them. Diatramentis Carnelian Red Copper is not an ink that I would want to ink in a pen. Same with Birmingham Pen Co. Tesla Coil. It's a sheening ink. Also not one that I would want to put in a pen. But all of the other ones, I would love to see. I think I want to see how this performs in a pen. This is one of those colors that is so in right now. The Monte Grappa Blue Black is really a good everyday ink. There's Shimmer, Wearingool Dewy Starlight. I want to see this in a Pilot Parallel. Inspired by Food Drink, Robert Oster Coffee Monster. This is really interesting too. I can see myself using that. Fuyugaki I already used before, but this is a nice orange. Moody or Stormy. Ferris Wheel Press Glistening Glass. Yeah, it is it's very similar, especially since they're on top of each other, to the Monte Grappa Blue Black. This has shimmer, so I'm probably less likely to use that than this one. And I found it very interesting that these are very similar in the intensity of the color. These three here in that column and this one right here. Then underrated Sailor Urameku Kuyokuya. I have never used this before. This is one that I want to see in a pen. I've not had any kitty ink pot inks before. This one splits up really nicely. This might be one that I want to put in a pen. A Surprise Me ink. Papier Plume Blossom. No, I can't talk. Blossom on the Potomac is a shimmer ink. This I can see myself using. Personal fave, Lennon Toolbar, Sun Moon Lake Black Tea. This is an ink that so many people love. I have not had a sample of this. So this I'm curious about. And then this one is Mont Blanc Encre du Désert. Désert. The desert, I believe. And this one is a really nice dark red. It reminds me of Gala, not as purpley leaning, more red, wine red. But this one is one that I would love to see in a pen as well. And as you can see, I did a lot of damage to this page. I had to cut out this because there was ink from here over here. I cut out this because I started my swatches wrong. Then I dropped water on here. Oh my God. And then she sent me 4 bonus inks. And these are all really lovely inks, especially the butter and strawberry bagel ink. I would love to see this in a Pilot Parallel. So yeah, with the addition of all the inks that I was sent to by friends, this is a success. And I was wondering about, I originally wanted to ink these inks into pens. And then I accidentally found a list of all the inks and saw them, and I wasn't inspired at all. And when I looked at them after I had swatched them, I definitely realized that I would be happy to ink a lot of these inks into pens. So that wasn't it. I was just not in the right mood for these specific colors, which is totally okay. I gave myself permission to veer off of my original plan. But yeah, that is also something. So don't commit yourself to something that you might not even be in the mood for in the beginning. So the last thing that I completely forgot about those are the ink bottles that I started out with. Do I still have room on my paper? I started out with 59 bottles of ink. And then during the summer, at some point, my friend Amy gifted me a whole lot of ink bottles. I have some swatching videos of those. And I ended up, after giving away a whole ton of those inks to friends, I kept some of those inks. I added some of them to my play inks that I also do not keep track of at all. And I added some to my regular, just like my rotation pens. I have rotation inks that I want to use for those rotation pens basically. So I purchased inks quite a bit, and I got several from Amy. I classify everything that is 15 milliliters or larger as a bottle. And so I ended up with 90 ink bottles at the end of 2025, which is a huge increase. And I will show you a little bit the sheet that I made for my inks. I had never had them on my computer digitized in any sort of way. I made several columns. One is swatched, one is acquired in what year, one is inked in 2025. I didn't want to go back further than 2025, and one is inked in 2026. And I just have check marks that I can click if I've inked and used them. And so what I'm very inspired to do, especially in the beginning half of 2026, is to ink those inks into pens that I did not use at all in 2025. And I'm just talking about the ink bottles. And I have my inks cataloged in this in these Traveler's Notebooks things. This is one of those separate notebooks with those pockets, and it was not enough pockets for the amount of ink bottles that I have, so I ordered inserts, and I just clipped them to the front cover and the back cover with paper clips. And so I can grow my collection even further with those bottles. And so I sorted them in a color like red, orange, orange, yellow, yellow, green, blue, green, you know, all those colors. This one I almost accidentally spilled. So I sorted them that way and I swatched all of them, and I'm very excited about using those inks. And also same with my pens and my inks. My collection is very fluid. When I realized that I'm not gravitating towards an ink that I thought I would love, I have no problem getting rid of that ink, just as I have no problem getting rid of